Good evening and welcome back to another refereeing related video. Today I'm going to do some frequently asked questions for you guys because there's a few questions that you guys seem to be asking a lot. I know of a few referees that have been bothered by these questions in recent times, and I'm here to answer them for you. Let's crack on. I've got 10 questions here that are genuinely asked by a lot of people, frequently asked questions by several people, and I know that some people would like the answers. So let's get down to question one. Now, the first question I've got written down here is, how old do you have to be to referee? Now, depending on country, depending on state, depending on province, depending on city, depending on how old you actually have to be to become a referee. Where we are in Spain, where I am currently located and based in Spain, in the Andalusian province, the age requirement, the age limit is 12 years old. Now, I believe in places like Gibraltar, it's 14, and in the UK as well, you have to be 14 to become a referee because of political reasons, political problems within the game. For example, some people argue the fact that it's too young for a 12-year-old to be refereeing a game for a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds because simply they are too young, and many people believe to look down on them. My personal opinion, I think that the rule for 12-year-olds is okay. It gives them enough time to start learning how to referee, how to officiate, and how to become a fully qualified referee. That I've heard many football players and other people asking referees on the coast and in general is what should be brought to the game. Now, I don't know about most places, but for here in Spain, for a fact, what you must bring to each and every game is a notebook to write down what the score is and people that have been given a yellow and red card, a pencil or pen, a watch. So this is my watch. This can tell the time locally. So the current time for me is 10 minutes past 10. That's another thing I need to include. What else do I need to include? Obviously my yellow and red card. Those are the most essential things. You also need to bring, for single matches where you're the only referee, I would recommend only bringing a yellow kit, which is our home variation for this season. Red kit, which is our off color. So, for example, for teams wearing yellow, you bring a red kit as well as the yellow kit. If it's raining, of course, bring the wet equivalent of your refereeing kit. So, for example, here in Spain, it is a black kit. It's long sleeve black kit. Obviously, as a referee, you also need to bring along football boots, preferably black football boots with your correct refereeing attire, football shorts, and football socks. That is it really for the requirements. You do need a phone in the Spanish version. I'm not sure about in other variants of football. So, for example, it might be very different depending on whether you are in England or in America, because I know some of you guys following are in America. But in Spain, we do acta, which is like the referee has to close the game at the end of the day. So at the end of the match, at the full-time whistle, the referee must put down everything in his or her phone in this very special app in Spain. And that is how that is how things go down. Everything that happens in the game must be put down in the phone. Anything important, any yellow cards, any red cards, any injuries, any goals, own goals, penalties, and that's pretty much it. Anything that happens in the stands as well must be reported and written down in this application. A third question that I've seen a lot out there is, what happens if it's raining? What happens? Well, depending on the rain. That's what I would say. If it's a light drizzle, we go ahead. Like they say, if the game was being played in Northern Europe, if it's just a light rain, we'd never play a game of football ever. Down here in the south, we do have some very interesting rules that we have to abide by. If the committee has agreed that the game has been cancelled, for example, a red weather warning has been issued for the province, every single game has to be abandoned, has to be stopped, no matter whereabouts in the match you are. At halftime, very, very rarely will a red weather warning be issued during your match. But if it does, you have to abandon the match at the time, and all matches go back to 0-0, and you start the game again from 0-0 the next day. That is if it is at halftime. If before the game you get to the venue, say you are going to, let's say, the London Stadium, for example, in London, and it is absolutely flooding with rain, and you assess the pitch, you notice that the ball cannot roll further than 10 yards, you stand on the pitch and it's literally filling your boots with water. You can go to, obviously, the home team delegado, which is like the leader, the person in charge for the match, going ahead smoothly other than yourself, for the club, of course, of the home team and the away team. You must include both teams for this. So if it's raining, pouring with rain, you go to both of the coaches and say, hey, look, before we start this game, we're going to stop it here. We're going to abandon the match because it's not playable. So tell all your players or parents to get on the WhatsApp group and tell them that this game is not going ahead. So stay at home, stay safe, and stay dry. If it is snowing on the other course or on the other side, where I am, very, very unlikely. We do have playing stance for this type of weather as well. We have the orange ball, but again, if it's too snowy, we will stop the game. Depending on the age category, we will not play in snow, and we will not play if there is, especially if there's lightning and thunder. Another question that I used to ask myself this at the end of each game is, how do I switch off after each match? Now, the way I switch off after each match is I go back home, I return home, and I basically tell myself that every single call I made during that game was 100% perfect, and that's it. If I doubt myself, I am going to lose sleep, unnecessary sleep, and I cannot afford to do that as a referee. You are going to be working very busy schedules, so as soon as one game is over, you move on to the next one, you forget about the one that just happened. So if I'm going home and dwelling over why I gave a free kick when it shouldn't have been a free kick and whatnot, Team Blue, I gave a penalty against Team Blue for Team Red, and it wasn't actually a penalty, and blah, 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 is just forget about it, basically. The past is the past. You can't change the past, and we move on. That's another question down. The next question is, what is your primary role as a referee? Now, the primary role as a referee is basically, obviously, the first one is you are the rule keeper. The second one is you are your own security guard. The third one is you are the guard of everyone on the field, making sure everyone is playing safely, and you can be the weatherman as well. You can determine whether a game is suspended, as we mentioned earlier, by being the weatherman, basically checking the weather, checking the field. But the primary, most important thing of the referee is the rule keeper role. Your job is to make sure everyone, no matter what team, what colour shirt they're wearing, whether they're on the sideline, whether they are in the side, how do I say this, in the stands, they have to be abiding by the rules. How can one in the stands be breaking the rules, you may ask? The simple answer to that one is they're running on the fields. If little Joey is making a bad tackle, you have to blow the whistle and say that little Timmy is making a bad tackle. If Joe, the coach, is shouting at you, you have to run over and warn Joe that if he keeps shouting, I will have to give you a yellow card. If he keeps going on, obviously, you book him, and if he keeps going again, you give him a second yellow card and send him to the streets, as the Spanish people say. The most important thing is your consistency. You have to be consistent when you are a referee. You can't say one thing to Team Blue and then another team to Team Red. That's how we have falling out and unfair conduct on the field. Another thing I would say is you have to maintain the safety of the players. You have to make sure all of the players are wearing shin pads at all times on the field. You don't have to wear shin pads if you're sitting on the bench watching your team, obviously. We don't mind the size of the shin pads as long as it passes the kick test or the linesman's tap test, where you can tap with the flag of the linesman and assume, and if they do not flinch, they're wearing strong enough shin pads. If they do flinch, it's like a doctor's type assessment. If you flinch, it's good. If you don't flinch, in our case, if you flinch, it's bad. If you don't flinch, it's good. That's moving on to another question. How do I handle dissent? That's a very, very good question indeed. How I handle dissent, depending on what is said, depending on what I do. If it is a player, for example, an under-14s player called Joe, for example, in this case. Joe has been a little bit heated. His team is losing 4-1 at this point, and the time is 55 minutes on the clock. Joe loses his head at me after a bad tackle and says, "Ref, you're doing an awful job." This is what I do. First of all, I'd ask the player to calm down, especially given the fact that he's under the age of 18. I ask the player to calm down, and if he refuses to calm down, if he hasn't calmed down within about 35 seconds, I calmly remind him that he's in the playing field. And if he keeps going, I firmly and confidently show him a yellow card. I raise it above my head so the coach can see and the other players can see that this has been confirmed, that he has received a yellow card. If foul language has been used, depending on where it is being said. For example, if one of the players tells me to get the F off, for example, I will, in Spain, it is a sending off offence, especially swearing at the referee. It is common law 12 of the game rule book here. If you swear at the referee will send you off. How do I maintain dissent from the coaches or the technical staff? I do the same thing. I remind them where they are. Depending on which age category they are doing, I basically say the same things. I give them a chance to cool down. If they don't, they will receive a yellow card. Another question asked is, when can a game start with less than 11 players? Is that possible? Yes, it is. Teams have been notoriously infamous for starting with 10 players, with 9 players. I've seen a team, not in my own one, but in someone's match acts that I saw, showed up with 8 players. It didn't end well for the team, but it's possible. The law states as long as it's 11-a-side football, they can play with up as little as 7 players. But if they start with less than 7 players, the game must be forfeited and the other team, well, depending on where you are in the world, will win 3-0 on a forfeit. Well, obviously, given the fact that there is also 7-a-side football here, most of the teams do bring 7-a-side players, so it is very, very unlikely to see a game happen with less than 7 players. In 7-a-side football, generally speaking, you don't see less than 7 players on the field. Usually, they have 7 players on the field, or sometimes 6, depending on injury substitutions. But the least amount of players I've seen for a 7-a-side is 6, nothing lower than 6. So it's very, very uncommon. Let's roll in on this. Substitutes, whilst we're still here. Substitution rule for the lower league football. How do I manage substitutions? How can I remember? How do I tell or remember how many substitutes a team has been using? Simple answer, I don't. The reason is because it's rolling subs. Now, a rolling sub is when a player goes off, it's fine, it doesn't have to be recorded. That player can come back on as many times as the coaches desire. It's very, very unusual that a player comes off more than 3 times, especially in the older 11-a-side football. But the younger ones, they have rolling subs, free will to bring off and put on whoever they want. That goes up until the Division Honor, which is the 6th level of Spanish football. And then substitutes are being involved and introduced into the game for the senior level. For the under 18, it is the División de Honor Nacional is when substitutes are being brought in. But each team is awarded a maximum of 5 substitutes in a normal league game, but with extra time, they are given an extra 2 substitutes to use. Another question that is asked is, should you research the teams you are about to referee? Now, depending on which referee you get, depending on the answer you will be given. My answer to this question is no. Why would I say no? Is because if you look into the league, for example, you looking into the under 16 Cadete League for Spain, Group 1, Division 3, for example, and you see the blue team you have received is the top of the table and the red team is 9th or 10th in the division. Given the fact that there's only 15 teams in the league, that's relatively lower down in the league. And as soon as you get that in your head, oh, the blue team's going to dominate. When the red team start playing well, when the red team start winning, you immediately go to the alarm bells start blazing, is what I'm going to say. The alarm bells go off. I'm doing something wrong. Why is the red team winning? I don't understand. The blue team should be winning. This is something I've done. It's happened to me before. It happened once before when I was much lower down in refereeing stance, less experienced. I looked into the teams. Now I don't. This is exactly why I don't. I go into the game completely blank-minded. I go into a game assuming that both teams are on a level playing field. And if you want to, you can have a look at the league after the game to see how this game is impacted on the table. But preferably, I would not do any research at all, giving the fact that you are neutral eyes on this game. Yes, you can do research on behavior-wise. You can look into whether Team A has been suspended once or twice before because of parents being badly behaved, players being badly behaved. But again, be very, very careful. Do not go into any game under any circumstances assuming that a team is going to be badly behaved, because it's going to make the experience bad for you. It's going to make the experience bad for them if you believe that their parents are going to be badly behaved. Basically, it's like a police saying, do not go into into a money heist bank, guns blazing. It will only make the situation worse. A question here by a random user on Reddit, because I don't own a Reddit page. It says, why do referees wear 2 watches? Now, I don't understand why that is. I'm just confused why this question's been asked, because I've never seen this ever before. So the only time where I'm seeing more than 1 watch in act is when there is linesman and a 4th official in play. This is just in case one of the watches breaks. The only watch you will be seeing on my wrist is this one, okay? I do bring a spare watch, but I don't wear it in play. I will just look like an insane lunatic wearing 2 watches, one on the left watch, one on the right watch. And simply, I would forget to set one for sure. So 1 is more than enough for you. Take 1, and I would recommend bringing a spare one. And as I forgot to mention earlier in the video, another piece of equipment has just come to mind that you most definitely need to start any game of football match. It is a coin. Now, some places in the world, they do rock, paper, scissors to start a game of football. But here in Europe, most certainly, you are going to start with a coin toss. Simple heads or tails coin toss will start the game. And that's it. Doesn't matter what kind of coin it is. You just need a coin. Now, those are the questions that have been frequently asked by the people of the great public of the internet, the world of the internet. I simply have just written down some questions and inquiries. I will make another video like this someday, but for now, those are some of your questions that have been answered. I hope you had a great time watching this video. As some YouTube channels and people say, like, love, and subscribe to my channel. And if you really enjoyed it, obviously smash the like button. But other than that, hope you have a great day, and hopefully I've inspired you to maybe become an amateur referee one day. Have a great one.